think everyone lost sound there, but hopefully you can hear me now. Yes, thank you. Hopefully. So let's start over. My fault. Thank you, Heidi, for letting me know. Again, I'm in a different setting and with a whole different setup today. We're actually hosting. We've been hosting the new PFS grants the past 2 days. So this is happening across the hallway. And we'll start from the top. Again, I'm not sure how much or how long today will take. I'm not expecting today's conversation to last the entire 60 minutes. The intent today is actually to introduce a document many of you have seen already, but some of you may not have. We completed and compiled an index of reports that are available within ECCO last month and published that in a way of documentation that can be a resource. These reports that's in ECCO have been a work in process for a long time. Melinda Pancratz has been instrumental in these reports, and Melinda is actually online with us today. I'm not sure about her availability, but she's hopefully she can jump in here when necessary. Melinda really has the expertise of some of the intent and technical details of the reporting processes. The index is designed to share with the user, again, the major reports that exist in ECCO, what they're used for, and what types of data can be extracted from those reports. I would encourage everybody to take a look at this document. It's on the help desk, has been since October, and we'll provide a direct link as well. The document is in PDF form and is a live searchable document as well on the help desk. These reports are pretty important for providers, pulling out data from the provider perspective in terms of activity and quantity and quality of service. Can be extremely useful as well from the LME perspective in terms of looking at program activities from a big picture. And these reports will become extremely important during the audit process, and it will become a central piece of conversations as we prepare for the statewide audit in coming months from the provider perspective. So let's jump in. I may go back and forth between ECCO and the document. At the same time, I don't want to go back and forth too many times. That can give you whiplash sometimes. And what I really encourage you to do as well, after looking at the document, the index, if you have questions or want some individual assistance with experimenting with the reports, and if you have problems with some of the filtering mechanisms and so forth, or you just want to make sure that the report download was made accessible to you accurately, please let us know. We'll be happy to walk through the process with you via screen share and hopefully build your level of confidence. Let's take a look. Again, we published the document in October. This is the first version. So the best thing about the first version of a document is there's always a second version coming, and that would be the case perhaps in the spring after we begin to integrate and finalize some of the audit support documents that's related to ECCO to help users with some of those features. The document itself is really divided up into a purpose and overview to find these major ECCO reports and the different types of reports that's out there. There are additional reports available within ECCO beyond this list, but these are the major reports that users tend to focus on most frequently, and the most comprehensive reports as well. One of those disclaimers is these reports are available in one way or another in two different formats. One format is a on-screen report response that sometimes gives you the complete data set, or sometimes the on-screen report that comes up from ECCO from a slide. You might remember in ECCO there are windows or screens that slide from right to left. So many of the reports available you can see live within the system. For all the reports, you can download into a CSV file, which is actually most folks view those files as Excel spreadsheet files. Some of those Excel spreadsheet files are are easier to navigate than others. Some of the reports, if you've ever looked at those reports before, go on and on and on in terms of columns. You have to scroll horizontally for a long period of time. And that's a lot of information to kind of grasp and internalize and attempt to interpret. We realize that. We're working on some ideas and items to help with that. But we can also help you with the CSV files as well, with interpreting those CSV files if you need help for that. Melinda's raised her hand, so Melinda, I'm going to give you rights to join me, okay? You should have audio right now.
I am using my computer audio because I have misplaced. Hear me?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. I just wanted to check. I was just going to say some of those longer reports are ones that most users won't need, but they are there. They have the full information that you've entered into ECCO if there are things that you want to check. But on a day-to-day basis, for most users, the summaries will have everything you need.
Great. Melinda, as we go through this, I may work through the document, and I'll give you a chance to chime in anytime you want to, okay?
Okay.
Because this is an unexpected pleasure. I wasn't sure if you would be able to join us today, so this is great. Okay. We do have a purpose. Page 4 of the document basically provides a purpose of the index. Again, the index is in its first version. It's not intended to be a complete how-to guide. It is intended to provide a high-level why does this particular report exist, and what type of information can be obtained by running the report. Again, if you have any questions, please let us know. If you see reporting irregularities, please let us know about that so we can help you dig into the process. There are 7 primary reports in ECCO, and you can see those primary reports inside the table near the center of the screen. There has been one change since this document was published, and those of you who frequently are in ECCO, since the inception of, since the past several, I would say 12 months, 15 months, implementation plans, the way that users who had access to multiple LMEs or multiple programs, the user was asked to sort those programs under reports via the View Implementation Plans filtering options. That's been moved, thankfully. So that View Implementation Plans really was not a report per se, but it allowed users to filter programs by LME or region. On the interface, that's been moved around just a tad and doesn't show up under the Report tab anymore, thankfully. So technically, there's 6 major reports based on this small interface design that the index concentrates on. The errors. So the table itself and this guide is designed using the same terminology. we can folks see the I think some folks are having trouble seeing my screen, so hold on 1 second. I think that's better. Yes. Thank you. Yeah, Amanda. Well, thank you, Amanda, and Amber, and Kyle, and Diane. Thank you. My fault. Yeah, so this table, the table that's on page 5, is basically the design of the index. We discuss the reports by report name. These report names match the reporting names that exist within ECCO. We provide you the location of the report and the purpose of the report. So this purpose is pretty important because I know it's overwhelming. If we provide you 6 separate reports, one of the challenges is, especially initially, if you don't use the reports over and over and over, is to try to figure out which report do we go to find a particular source of information. So this is a really high-level view of that. So the errors report, for example, provides a report calculating staff errors across strategies and interventions. So you can get a really good idea of how many errors staff are spending on specific interventions. The SIDAR errors overview does the same thing, but includes SIDAR only. So we can use that report just to look at SIDAR staff errors only. Now, something to keep in mind is the errors report includes SIDAR time as well. But if you're just looking for SIDAR errors and you're looking for nothing else, the intent of that report is to kind of ease the reporting request, so you don't have to filter out all the other information, all the other activity. A third report is process. This displays population level data, and the report actually gives you a variety of methods to obtain that information on the screen or availability in terms of download. There's multiple reports there. Let's see, we have a strategy report. It presents information regarding the types of strategies being implemented by your agency or agencies. Then we have 2 other SIDAR specific reports. And you can see that there's a major focus on SIDAR activity and SIDAR reporting and having the availability of accurate data throughout the system to support all interventions, and with a specific focus on SIDAR reporting. We have the merchant report. This compiles a full listing of SIDAR merchants, location, and visit history for the user. And we have a SIDAR process report, which displays population level data in a variety of formats as well. So what we'll do in the next few minutes is kind of walk our way through some screenshots of these reports. Melinda, are you still with us?
I am.
Yes, anywhere you want to jump in?
I will if I see something, but you're covering this well.
Okay. Melinda's too kind. Let's see. So again, how do you access the reports? Most of us have seen this process. When we log into ECCO, under step 1, we see the classic 4 box interface. Click on Plan and Report. Most of us spend 90% of our time in this particular section, probably. And then you were to click on Reports. So that's very important. So click on Reports, and you will see this tray appear with multiple tabs. We do have a question. Yes, we have Deanna has a great question that we'll be able to answer in just a few seconds. We do have a word of warning for users. We went through a period of time last year about this time that we were recommending users to make sure they used Google Chrome as their browser. This is no longer the case. The Chrome is proving to be significantly problematic across the state. Many of the technical issues we're seeing with providers are stemming from the use of Chrome. We've asked, since Chrome is a very popular browser, we have asked the providers the timeline of correcting this issue, this interface issue, when we use Chrome, and it's still undetermined. Some of the examples of issues we've seen are action plans that do not populate when we create the intervention. We've seen action plans be mixed up and not in order that we created them with Chrome and with other browsers. We've seen some process data that was entered within Chrome that not be recorded. We've seen fewer instances of these technical issues with Microsoft Edge. So in order of priority, Edge seems to be the most solid as of today. Explorer and Chrome seems to be the most problematic. If you're a Mac user like myself, Safari seems to be, from the field, even via the iPad, perhaps the most accurate of them all, oddly. This reports tray is where we'll be focusing our attention when we speak of reports. And you will see the tabs, of course, that we can click on. Clicking on each of the tabs gives you access to that particular set of reporting features. So let's move on down. When we click on the tab, hopefully the screen changes for everyone. Many of the tabs, the questions, the interface looks a little bit different based on the report that you want to pull down from the system. We have had some reports on this screen of clicking on the tabs and the questions being asked of the user to filter the data not changing or updating. If you have any of those issues, let me know. Again, generally speaking, Chrome was the culprit as well for those issues. The view implementation plans, this is the first report. Now this is the tab that's actually been moved to a different section of the screen. So this report really doesn't exist anymore as of a couple of weeks ago, as we designed it in the index. So this particular page, page number 9, may look a little bit different. But let's get into the real meat of the process. And what does not look different is beginning on page 10. So this is a matrix of how the ECCO report for errors works. And if you look at the index, this particular document, it's designed the same way in every section. So if we understand how this index works for errors, for example, and the types of information it presents, then you'll be able to flip through it for other types of reports as well. We provide, again, the same information at a high-level view: the report name, the ECCO location, and the report purpose, and how to find the report, in which tab to click on. You will also see a screenshot of the filtering options for this particular report. So for the errors report, you can search by LME if your agency serves multiple LMEs, by agency name, by strategy, by Institute of Medicine category, funding source, and report from and to. We've seen some major user errors with this particular screen. in terms of filtering data. Make sure to indicate funding source, which is state block grant. And make sure to be extremely clear of your reporting period. For example, if I were to leave my reporting period open with no calendar entries and click View, since we have statewide data access, the system will sit there, sometimes for 5 minutes, trying to pull all the data. Now, in your particular case, that will not happen because your data sets are much, much, much smaller. But at the same time, if you're only looking for data from July 1st, 2019 until December 1st, 2019, your data file will be much more compact if you're able to do so, filter out. So these filters, or the filter options, if I click on a strategy drop-down box, what options do I have? So the index attempts to provide you the options on paper, so you will have a better sense at a glance of what your filtering options are. LME. This is pretty important for those of us who serve multiple LMEs. You can select multiple LMEs at the same time. So suppose you have an agency that serves 3 LMEs. You could pick all 3 LMEs from the report screen to download your data into one big report to have an agency-wide report. Or you can choose singular LME. You can also choose multiple agencies. Now, most of us may not have that issue. There may be some occurrences out there that your agency is listed multiple times based on LME design in terms of ECCO and those type of things. But you can choose multiple agency instances as well to pull data down, or a singular agency instance. Suppose you're looking for information about a particular strategy. This is you can search by all strategies or by singular strategy to extract data on a particular type of activity. We can also pull activity by Institute of Medicine category. If you remember, those of you who create intervention profiles, and we have a much higher level of confidence in our data set now because the Institute of Medicine category auto-populates for 90% of interventions being delivered out there, except for those few prevention education activities that may be delivered in multiple ways. So this Institute of Medicine category, this is, to me, it's a fascinating data set to look at that we have a high level of confidence in as well, since we've been able to leverage the power of the master grid and the auto population features of ECCO. A funding source, at this time, the major users of ECCO are prevention block grant users. And make sure to choose prevention block grant SAP Big G as your funding source, just to roll out any unusual instances in the data that we have seen from especially if you're running data sets, or maybe your agency was involved in PFS funding in the end, or maybe CARES funding in the past, or so forth. Just make sure to be specific in terms of your funding source. And I spoke of the report from and report to calendar entry options to filter out your dates. The matrix also gives you the types of reports that is made available to the user. So, for example, this particular report is the hours report for staff hours. You have 2 options. You have 2 sources of reporting information. You have the reporting screen that presents itself within an ECCO, and you have a detailed CSV file that you may download to your local desktop and review within Excel or whatever spreadsheet program you may use. So we've talked about the staff errors, the options for filtering data. So what does this report actually give you? And the index attempts to provide a detail of what the report actually provides to you. And you can see that based on the bullet points. The number of errors, training, documentation. So you may remember on the staff error screen, it asks you how many direct errors, training errors, documentation, travel, and so forth. So that's where this data is coming from. And also provides you a really nifty chart of how much time is being spent per strategy. And Melinda, I may ask you to kind of jump in here as well. And that errors by strategy is a pretty important report for us system-wide.
Yes, absolutely. That, of course, should really closely correlate with your expenditures by CSAP strategy and therefore how you're meeting the block grant benchmarks. There's, of course, exceptions to that for some strategies that are more expensive than others. But as a general rule, if your hours report, the percentages align with the benchmarks, you should be pretty close to your expenditures for the benchmark.
Right. Other items I left out, Melinda, I'm sorry, I was thinking about Amanda. Melinda on the list for this particular report?
I think you hit them all. The reporting periods can help with, sometimes people aren't sure if they remember if they reported something, so that can be useful there. And at the state level, there's different reporting periods that they have to use other than just the state fiscal year. So that is really important from a federal and a state user perspective to have the correct months for reporting.
Right. We'll demonstrate as well, Melinda, as if you have other items you want to add to. I'm just searching my particular test agency profile in ECCO under the errors report, and I've chose my agency. And since my data set is so small, we're just going to download the CSV file. If you know, this screen was actually changed 2 weeks ago as well. We need to update the index. The filtering of dates has been removed. And I'm not sure why that's occurred. Yeah, that can pose some implications. Let's download the CSV file. Yeah. As you can see, since I'm unable to filter down my dates, it's taking just a moment, even with my small data size. Okay. So this is a typical CSV file that many of you have downloaded and somewhat played with. You see tabs along the bottom based on strategy. And you see headers in terms of column names. Now, one thing I do want to point out is you have unique codes that you're beginning to see throughout the system and community name codes as well. Those are computer generated by the system for tracking purposes, and nothing that you accidentally created on your end, or nothing to modify. They are simply there for internal tracking. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, folks, the errors report seems to you saw a issue. So if you saw my screen just a few moments ago, this screen looked a little bit different, if you noticed. And I looked at the report as well, and I really wasn't satisfied with what I saw in the report. So I refreshed my screen multiple times, and take note now, you actually see the report from and report to. So after I bragged on Safari working appropriately, this is the time that it let me down. So this screen looks a little bit different. And even though I'm looking at the same errors tab, and I'm willing to bet the report it's giving me is different as well. Now, this is what it should be giving me. Melinda, did you experience the same issue, or was that just on my end?
I wasn't testing along, but I was surprised we did not see the summary when you first clicked over, because that's what I was expecting and what most people will want to use as well.
Yeah. So this is a lesson for all of us, and if it doesn't look right, especially based on the index that we're giving you, let us know. At the very least, refresh your screen a couple of times. Kyle just sent me a message as well, Kyle Smith, who indicated the same, that he refreshed his screen multiple times, and the system finally generated an updated page. And this is a new little wrinkle for us that we're going to have to investigate. So let's do that again. We're looking at the errors report, the tab errors. I'm searching my agency. I will go back. Let's go back for TTA through December 2018 to give us a 12-month period, and you will see the really neat summary we can pull out. We have total, direct errors. We have by strategy, an Institute of Medicine category, and we have a listing of agency and intervention name and the user. So for many of you, you may have multiple staff entering data over a long period of time across multiple interventions, and your list of users will be quite long. In that case, this is for the detailed CSV file, is really useful. And you'll see the same information basically in a much more compact view. Please take note of the reporting period and make sure that the reporting period you're seeking is actually indicated on the report. That's pretty important. And here, for example, if I happen to have 200 records of staff activity, they would be listed here. Then we have totals for the particular activities. And we have by strategy and category for totals as well. Again, my numbers are quite small just because of this is a test account, but it serves as a pretty good example of the format of this particular report. Okay. The SINAR report, again, looks exactly the same. It just pulls out SINAR staff activity and only SINAR staff activity. So let's go back to the index for a few moments. And again, the index provides you the report name, the location, and the purpose. It shows you an accurate example of the screen. And if your screen does not look like this when you access ECCO, please refresh your screen and see if that helps. The index provides you the filtering options and defining features of the filters, and also gives you a short narrative of the types of information that the ECCO system will provide back to you. Again, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, the SINAR Reports overview provides you exactly the same information, just for SINAR and SINAR specifically. It does provide an additional layer of information there within SINAR. The SINAR report provides you details about community education and mobilization, the merchant education activity staff may be actively involved in, law enforcement, media, and also provides you additional information about SINAR activities. I have very little SINAR activity in my test agency, and I would encourage everybody, given the short amount of time we have, to go into your SINAR report and take a look. We have seen some inconsistencies in the SINAR report throughout the state with a few agencies. If you see something unusual for errors, please let us know. It's been somewhat of a moving target at times. We believe those issues have been corrected, but every now and then we see an agency-specific issue for that particular report. Process reports is another valuable report in the system. And process shows reach for communication campaigns and your activity in the community at the population level. The screen looks very similar, if you take note, as compared to the errors and SINAR errors overview tab. The filtering information is very, very similar in nature. There is a subtle difference, though, in terms of the availability of reporting. There's an actual interface screen. Remember, let's go to process. When we say interface screen, this is the screen that remains. So the report provides you a table view of really important data that rises to the top you may be interested in. It also provides you, the system provides you 3 separate CSV files. 2 of those files are really designed for the user. We have a long report that I'll let Melinda speak to that's really more for research purposes, that has a different spin on the report, but the detailed CSV and the population summary CSV are the 2 files that most users will not want to look at.
I would just echo what Jamie had said. Most people are going to really just look at the population in that report. You probably will not want to look at the long report. It will be very cumbersome to use without statistical software. So I would just pretend that was not there from a community or a LME perspective.
Right. So those CSV files can be leveraged to have a greater level of granularity with your data, more so than those interface screens. Again, the index provides you information about what data to expect to be reported back to you. The strategy report, again, the filtering options, very, very similar. We provide a table of those options you may choose from and the purpose of each filter. And then we provide a relatively somewhat short listing of the types of information you will see when you access the strategies report, especially those CSV files. Think about the strategies report as a report, an overview of the information that was entered in parts when you set up the intervention profile. In part A, part B, part E, and so forth. Even have it in the index there. Part A, B, and E. My memory's better than I thought it might be. The SINAR merchants report is really specific to your merchant locations, your merchants, locations, and your visit history. It's a pretty important and user-friendly report. Let's go to it. Again, my merchant list is very, very small, if anything. Let's see what we have. Yes, so from the interface screen, ECCO provides us with a listing of locations. In this particular case, listing of county, the number of merchants visited, and remember those questions with your merchant tracker. Was the state sign visible? Did the staff person speak to the manager? What were the follow-up needs and so forth? This is a table summary of the data that's being entered into the merchant tracker. This is for routine visit. Take note of the different tabs. So the tabs provide you different sets of information based on the request. So the merchant tracker form collects all this information. And the intent of this screen is to basically serve as at a glance for that particular information set. Since we're dealing with so much in terms of so many numbers of merchants and merchant data sets and so forth, the detailed CSV for staff management purposes and for follow-up purposes, I would expect to be extremely valuable to help with the signing task. The report provides you the same information as those screens, just in Excel spreadsheet format, and you can delete columns, filter columns, and so forth to maybe create a work plan of sorts for follow-up or other needs. Last but not least is the SINAR process. The SINAR process screen is very similar in some ways to the process screen for other interventions, except again, it only includes SINAR and SINAR only. So it's a way to filter out your SINAR process activity in a faster and more succinct way. So if we look at the interface screen for SINAR for this particular report, it's broken down by your major SINAR activities for community mobilization, merchant ed, law enforcement, media, public relations, and those unique questions that the SINAR process screens ask you to report on for SINAR activity. And again, this particular index entry beginning on page 27 starts with SINAR process, shares with you the filtering options and what data you can expect to pull from the system. I realize that number one, this is really technical information to convey in this type setting, and we could actually talk about this for several hours, and we could all experiment and kind of confirm and play with different filtering settings and have conversations about the reports. That I think could be a really good face-to-face conversation for us, all of us in spring, regionally, to be honest. In the meantime, we did want to provide just the opportunity to provide something in writing, this index, to help folks get started, so we can continue this conversation. Obviously, there's some screens that need updating based on recent changes. We really need to make sure to click that refresh button anytime we use ECCO lesson learned today, to make sure that if something doesn't look right, it may not be right, see if that triggers a reload of the system. If you want to receive individual assistance or have questions, want us to help you pull the original reports, we'll be happy to help you do that. When agencies ask us to help them with reporting items and pull reports, this is exactly where we start. Is these existing reports that's available to all providers. The reports that's available to providers are the same reports available to the LMEs. And the reports available to the LMEs are the same reports available to the providers. So it's in terms of public view, we have an equal level of report access at this point. Melinda, we have about 7 more minutes, and that was a really, really faster than it should be overview. And we want to open things up to any questions too, before we close.
I was just going to add in, as a part of the Sign Our Supplement money, we did get some funds to get licenses to be able to have more visual reports. And so we have those licenses now, and we're working on those reports, and we hope to have those available early in the new year, and we'll of course keep you updated on how that is progressing.
Yeah, to me that's really exciting. We started those conversations almost 12 months ago, last week, to build those out, and it wasn't feasible at the time to see those visual report options be made available again in terms of development is kind of exciting to me, and I really like data, so it hopefully will create a easier to use reporting process sometimes.
Yeah, and the intent, of course, is that for those who don't like data as much, that it's much easier to see what your data looks like. So so we're hopeful that people will like and appreciate those reports once we get them up and running. And again, we're actively working to get those accessible to you.
Right. Again, we're nearing the end of the event, but any questions out there, or you can send me a message, email me, send me a text. If you would like us to kind of slow down and go through each item one by one, we'll be happy to do so, either Amanda or myself. One of the reasons we haven't made major updates to this document since October 14th was the development of some of those more graphically oriented reports, so we could kind of merge efforts together, and that process is still in development. So if there are points of confusion or inaccuracies in the index, again, not many folks have seen this, sadly. We've tried to promote it. If you see points of inaccuracies, let us know so we can correct them. We know that they exist with some of the screen captures and so forth. The goal is to be for a first version, to be as simple and direct as possible, to help each of you. we realize you're putting a significant amount of data into the system, and it's really useful if you can pull that out. For quality assurance issues, for management within your local agency, for staffing patterns, but as we roll into the audit season that's quickly approaching, these reports will be extremely important for all stakeholders at every level.
I'd just like to add also that these first reports were determined very strategically in terms of state and federal reporting requirements. And so these are the initial rollout of report options. There will potentially be additional reports. So if there's things that you find that you want to know from ECCO, definitely let us know so we can keep that in the back of our minds for when we're ready to develop additional report options.
Yeah, but that's really important. And folks, now's the time to ask some of those questions of what could be. If there's a particular type of information that's really valuable for you and your community and the promotion of their prevention efforts, please let us know. We're beginning to have a somewhat large and impressive data set from across the state, and let's make it as useful and valuable as we can. Okay, I don't see any other questions coming in. Again, we will send out, you will receive an email in 59 minutes, 60 minutes with a certificate. This particular event does not award certification credit, but you can add the certificate to your list for individual submission if needed. There's a link in terms of suggestions for ECCO and evaluation of the webinar. After we have time to download and edit the video, we will send a link to the video of today's event. And this index of reports is already, it's been on the help desk for, again, a month and a half or so. So feel free to download from the help desk, and we'll send a link out. The article that includes the video will also include the download for the index. And again, the index is searchable, so you can just go to the search box at the help desk and type index or process report and whatever search term you want to use, and it'll bring up the most relevant searches. In the meantime, please give us a call. We would much rather you give us a call and say, how do you do the SINAR process report? So it can be useful for you than kind of, being in the dark. Don't cause yourself that much stress, especially as the weeks go by. That's why we're here to serve you. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.